I'm going to start recording. Hello. Okay, today, the law of the inner circle and the law of empowerment. These are awesome, and I feel like you can almost know a lot just by reading the titles. Like, even if you didn't read the chapter, just because of how long we've been in Plexus, and because I would say all of us are leaders naturally at some capacity, even if you don't feel like you are. I feel like all of us are. You can kind of hear the law of the inner circle and understand a lot of what that means. And I just now posted that poem as my status. I thought that was, do y'all know the poem I mean?
Yeah.
I thought that was really good. Because and I guess why it stuck out to me is because it's not saying that people who don't belong in your inner circle are bad. It's saying the inner circle is something you have to formulate very intentionally, because whether we realize it or not, we have an inner circle. And I guess I highlighted where he said we naturally tend to surround ourselves with people we like and people we're comfortable with. So if we're not being intentional about it, we still have an inner circle. And this chapter hit home to me a lot because of an experience in my Plexus business, where the inner circle that I was kind of feeding and spending a lot of time with early on, I just came to a point where I realized that inner circle was really tearing me down, and I had to make a really deliberate shift away from those people. And it was very hard. I had to talk to a counselor and talk to Chris, because there was a big part of me that was like, I love these people. What do I do? But coming to the realization that it's not healthy to surround yourself by people who drag you down, at least not your inner circle. So anyway, I think this chapter really hit home for me, and good stuff. So let's see. I'm going to look for some things that I thought stuck out to me, and then I want to hear what stuck out to you guys. One thing that stuck out to me was in the illustration about Lance Armstrong. They pointed out that before he kind of brought his coach and his sports director into a place of like team and leadership, he was following his own training regimen, and it was less efficient, and he lost badly. And so you think about someone with massive talent who was a failure and a loser because they didn't have a strong inner circle. And so I think about that with you guys and with other people with strong potential on our team. The fact that a strong inner circle could make them appear to not have that amazing talent and ability. And there was another place you said it too. Okay, right here. There's no substitute for performance, but without a good team, you often don't get the opportunity to perform. And your potential is determined by those closest to them. So I think this is a really interesting example, because I'm sure you could all agree that if you had no team, you would not even have the opportunity to prove yourselves as the leaders that I'm seeing emerge. And I could say that about every single one of you. I feel like that I see such strong leadership in you and leadership potential in you, but without a team, you wouldn't even have the opportunity to show that. Mm-hmm. It's just interesting. That was one thing that jumped out at me. Let's see real quick. Actually, before I bring up any other topics, what do y'all think of that? Does anyone, I mean, you don't have to have feedback. It could just be like, yeah, that's interesting.
I like the same part where it talks about him losing badly, where the sentence after where it says begin to maximize his gift. So we're all kind of have that potential, like you said, but our team brings it out in us.
Yeah, I highlighted that too. Huge. It's just really eye-opening. Yeah.
I just didn't even realize that cycling
You're breaking up.
was a team sport.
Oh yeah, I didn't either. That was interesting.
Can you hear me? Okay, yeah. So at the beginning when it says nobody does anything great alone, if you'd given me like a multiple choice of like which team sport is most likely to have somebody succeed by themselves or something, I would have probably guessed cycling.
Yeah.
And so then for them to even say like Lance Armstrong is the only person who has acknowledged his team as the reason he, like whoever said I could not have been here without my team. And so it just kind of, that was like a huge reinforcement of the nobody does anything great alone, even if it seems like they did. There's probably, you know, that phrase, behind every great man is a great woman, even that, or behind every great person is a great team of people.
Kind of a different concept, but they talk about how a good leader finds greatness in the group, helps the members find it in themselves. I think that that's something we all are really trying to look for in our teammates. And I think we'll talk about that more in empowerment, so I won't dwell on that. Let's see. Okay, this was interesting. He says, only if you reach your potential as a leader do your people have a chance to reach their potential. Andrea, what do you think of that?
It's one of the things I highlighted.
It is.
I mean, it definitely, I mean, especially as like a yellow, that like jumps out at me and makes me like more motivated to work on myself, because I'm thinking then like work on myself and someone else doesn't have the, it's maybe going to not be able to do something that they could have done if I would have done this other thing. So,
right.
That jumped out at me.
Yeah, huge for yellows. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it reminded me too of the, again, the law of the lid of, you know, how high is your number is they're going to be able to reach one step below that. And if I want them to have to reach there, I mean, both of these chapters really stuck out to me because
So Wi-Fi stuff?
Yeah. Mel, are you in a bathroom?
no
Where are you?
bedroom, it just has interesting.
Can you be near their modem perchance? Or are they all gathered around that?
It's in the living room.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, well, these
It's like every time you try to talk, it cuts out.
last two chapters were
Just shut up.
Mal, we just can't hear you.
it looks like I have full bars where
No.
Bummer.
I'm confused.
Do you want to try and get on your phone, Mal? Okay, she's gonna. Maybe try on your phone.
Oh, okay. But can you hear me right now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll say real quick. So these two chapters both stuck out to me a lot because they talk a lot about potential, and my smaller team page is called Team Plexus Potential. So a lot of it really resonated with me. Oh, are we back? Okay.
Keep trying on the phone. I think we'll end up.
I'm wasting your time.
Just try on your phone.
Okay.
And keep that thought, because when you get on,
Somebody else talk.
Yeah, we'll come back. Okay. So he talks about just some questions to ask yourself when contemplating if someone belongs in your inner circle. We'll talk about that in a minute. And he says, You're looking for people who have complementary skills, who are compatible together, and who contribute without stepping on each other's toes. But also, you want them to kind of raise one another's game. And I love how I see this at play with a lot of like power partner teams. Like I've oftentimes heard you say, Taylor, like, I work hard because I see Andrea working hard and it motivates me. And just other examples like that. Or like, with my 3 senior rubies, they're kind of all neck and neck at senior ruby, not sure who's going to hit emerald first. And I think that there's not spoken, but I think there's a little bit of a friendly competition at play. Like they see what each other is doing and they're all on each other's team pages. And I think they're raising the bar for one another, or I think that's a good thing. Okay. Okay, I think I thought I had another question, but it may be in the next chapter. So I do want to hear what you guys have to add as far as the inner circle. What really, I guess, I mean, we know the basic concept, how important it is that your inner circle is a positive influence. So I guess what I want to know is there anything that this chapter spoke to you that's beyond that? Like anything that we couldn't have known just by reading the title of the chapter?
I mean, I feel like with your team being as big as it is, you probably have a much larger inner circle. And I think of like when I'm reading through this, I'm like, wow, Andrea is my inner circle. Like she is the only one. So I have girls that are on my team that have a lot of potential, and maybe that's where the law of empowerment comes in, and I have to kind of work to build them up as leaders. But like reading through the law of the inner circle, it's like Andrea fits all those categories. It's like I'll get to one of the questions, I'll be like, I don't know if so and so fits in that just yet, or is all in, or builds up in the way that Andrea does. So it's your inner circle can be as big or as small as your team obviously is. Or I'm sure you could have a large team as well, and then and still have a fairly small inner circle depending on the potential of the people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the empowerment fits really well after this, because if you do only have one really, strong person, and I would say too that your inner circle may not all be plexus people.
Yeah.
Because I think some of my really big power players in my inner circle are people who understand plexus and they're supportive of me in plexus, but they're sort of outside of the plexus world, and they still have a lot of value they add to me as far as perspective. So several of them are in plexus, but I can think of 2 or 3 who are outside of it. Now, are you on your phone now?
Yes.
All right, let's hear what you had to say about Team Plexus potential.
I just was saying that both of these chapters seemed timely and meaningful to me because they are a lot about potential, helping people reach their potential, how you have to reach your potential so that the people under you can reach their potential. And again, I think some of the specific points come out in the empowerment chapter. And I think it's also timely just because I've been able to kind of start back with a couple of people who are more business builders on my team. So it was just, I felt like it was a testament to the fact that I've been working through this book even when there was kind of like a dry spell with my team somewhat. But now I'm like really hitting hard these things that are reminding me like where I'm grounded in, what my team was about, what I wanted for my team, what I want to be for them as their leader. So I felt like it was kind of cool that these 2 chapters came and that I have specific things that I can reference of like what I want that page to be and just my role kind of a thing.
What do you think what can you point to as to why your couple of business builders have jumped back in? Do you think it has to do with your leadership in any way?
Well, I definitely think, like we mentioned a couple weeks ago, that I was not really giving a lot of emphasis to my team page, and I was disheartened by it. So I was like, didn't post on it very often, didn't feel like it made a difference, didn't feel like it was worth the time and effort if it wasn't doing anything. But I think it's just like if I demonstrate consistency, then it makes more sense that I would ask it of them, like when they're seeing it. Like I know they're seeing me post, but I think when they see me investing in them too, it's just reminding them like this is still a part of my life. I think some of it's timing. I think people have a little more time over the holidays or things like that. And I think some of it was just like they were ready again in some ways. So I don't know that I can really, I know that I've tried to keep connection, like the last week's law of connection, and tried to build the relationships more. So that is probably a specific thing I could say. I've been trying to be their friend, not necessarily their sponsor, so they can know that I do care about them and want to keep a connection. And it's not just like what I have invested in them. So yeah, that's probably the main thing I would say. And so now I can kind of get into more of the other ways of leading them beyond just those connections and relationships.
Very good. Do we want to move on to empowerment?
Well, the only thing I was going to say too was I liked that again, I don't know how y'all's book is, but how he gives the template of like how to determine who should be in your inner circle. Mm-hmm. If they have influence, if they have the complementary gifts, if they're in a strategic position, and if they add value to me as a leader or to the organization. Like that's just helpful in having a template of who is worthy of being in the inner circle. And then how he gives that kind of fifth distinction. And like you said of that poem, like half bad or half good, just because someone's not in it doesn't mean they're bad or not. That was just helpful to me to have that list to go back to. I know I need an inner circle, so who's worthy of it and who's going to build me up by being a part of that group versus who might be there automatically but doesn't necessarily deserve that position or something.
And it was interesting where he said it's not selfish. Like inner circle members should add value to you personally. Mm-hmm. Because it does sort of feel selfish to cut someone out of the inner circle when they're a drain on you or they just don't add anything of value to you. But there's this distinction where it's like you don't have to not love that person and you don't have to spend no time with that person. But if they're in your tribe, like there's somebody that's given a lot of, their opinion has a lot of value. And you know, like an inner circle to me is like people that it's kind of like your round table, your people that you consult with on important matters. So if they're going to have a position of importance and their opinion weighs a lot, then, you know what, there was I wish I could find it now. There's some really good like meme. I think Jenna posted it one week. It was like, no, it wasn't Jenna. I know where it was. I'll find it. It was like, just kind of like, why are you getting advice from people who have never built anything great or ever done anything? You know, why do you know what it is? Why? Oh yeah. Here it is. Why would you take constructive criticism from someone who has never constructed anything? That's what it was. Anyway. All right, let's move on to empowerment because it really is a perfect law to follow the inner circle. So when you realize how important it is that you surround yourself by strong leaders, you might find yourself kind of like Taylor said, in a position of, I only know one person that really fits all these criteria. And so in empowerment, he talks a lot about seeing potential in people and lifting them up. Where does he say it? Find it. Okay. Anyway, I can't find it, but seeing potential in other people, being able to notice their strengths and being able to notice their areas of giftedness and helping them find ways to use that to build their business and to grow as leaders and helping them reach achievable goals. That's all part of empowerment. I loved the homework. He said this week, find one situation in which you can share your authority with someone else and then kind of answer these questions. Did you guys may not have that in your books. Do you have a section called Take Action? You have it? So I liked it. He said, share your authority with someone and empower them to do blank, whatever it might be. And then reflect on why you chose that person, what maybe your initial concerns were about whether they could handle it or not, how did they react to your offer, and what were some of the challenges they faced with it, how did you encourage them, how did they grow as a leader from it, what was the outcome of the project. I think that's really valuable, and I've had lots of opportunities to do that in my team by giving people, leadership of a 20-day challenge or leadership of a Zoom call or so yeah, I highly recommend that homework. But let's hear some takeaways from you guys.
Something that I thought of more so is like when you're reading through this, you really have to know the color personalities of the people that you're reaching out to. What lights a fire under their butt to get them to go. So Andrea and I were talking recently about some of the girls on our team and like what's their color personality? How can we get them to want to step up to do certain things? Because we have gone to some of the girls, or I've gone to some of the girls and said, hey, I'd love it if you post something. It could be anything inspirational, some information that you saw that was cool, a video. Just post it on the team page just so we can all be a part of it. And I think that a lot of times it can be scary for someone to like even do something as simple as that. But obviously, the more you do it, the easier it gets. And with our team page, a lot of times that I feel like personally, I feel like I run myself so thin often with having a full-time job and having the team page and then personally trying to recruit and being a part of several different like income producing activity groups and stuff like that. I run myself thin and I feel like I don't give as much as I should to my team, where I don't necessarily have the time, I guess, to think like, okay, well, this person is this personality and this is how I need to reach out to that person. How can I give them an incentive to step up as a leader, want to do that? Because I think that there is certain people who like have the desire, that natural desire, and then other people who obviously think that leaders are for certain people, which we all know is not the case. So I find personally that after reading this, I feel like I fall short a lot of times of empowering people on my team because I wear myself so thin, where I need to come up with a better system of like maybe 1 week I focus on one person and the next week I focus on one person in my team instead of being so clustered in my head of who I need to reach out to, and names will pop up and what I need to do, and then I forget it because so much is going on.
Yeah. I hear you on that so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And really 2 years in, I feel like I'm just starting to get better about that. Like I have a weekly little block of time, obviously with you guys, and I have a weekly block of time that I talk on the phone with Lorelai. But I'm just getting to the point where I feel like I'm getting a little better about that, because it does feel like it feels like a lot of effort to pour in when you're thinking of how to handhold somebody to reaching their potential better and raising up as a leader, because you have to look for their skills. And then when you say, can you lead in this way, and they go, I don't know how to do that, then you have to say, well, what if you try this? Or, and it is hard work. So I wonder if there are ways to do it where it's less work on us, because truly it should be work for them. Like, they're the one growing into the leader. So I wonder if it's, most of us struggle to with coaching instead of training. We always want to just tell people the answer instead of asking questions and helping them come to it themselves. I wonder if it's the same way with helping empower them to become leaders, where if we were to reach out one week and say, okay, Olivia, I want to know how you think you can add to our team this week. How can you, what skill or gift or thought have you had this week that you think would benefit? What have you learned this week that you think would benefit the rest of us? And then they say, well, I've learned a lot about time management this week, or whatever they might say, like being brave, reaching out. Okay. How can you think of the best possible way to convey that to our team? What could you do, say, or post that you think the most people would really connect with? Well, maybe a live video, let them answer. I don't know. I'm just brainstorming. Like, how can we make that less work on us and more work on them? Because if they want to be a leader, then they hopefully want to put a little work into it. And I try to remind myself that, like, when I'm asking somebody who's like not yet silver, I tend to automatically be like, oh, they probably have way too much on their plate, because I have way too much on my plate. But I look at it and I go, that person is not yet silver. They probably really can handle whatever I'm trying to pull out of them.
I think a lot of times too, like, we as leaders have such high goals and desires to reach them, and we're motivated and we want to get stuff done. So it's hard for us to put that motivation on someone else. We're like, why don't you understand this? This is great. Like, we should be doing more. Like, why aren't you doing this? Because we want it so bad, and we are fighting so hard to grow ourselves every day and our team every day. So I think it's hard to have that different mindset and to get your team in that mindset of wanting to empower other people, and the feeling that it is, and kind of being like a give-take relationship.
Or not just them feeding off of you.
Yeah. And it kind of goes, like, reading back at what Mallory's kind of said, the list of people that you want in your inner circle. And there was a quote. It said, I'm investing in my best assets, to kind of like let go of some of those people that are more like leeches to you, that aren't, they want the answer, but they don't want to work for it type of thing. And knowing who's going to work hard and want to empower other people. And then in return, you want to lift those people up as well.
One thing I've started, because I don't like giving up on the leeches either. One thing I've started came from our call with Tamra the other night. I have a level 2 whose sponsor is not very helpful and active. And occasionally she'll come to me and be like, I really want to make some money with this business, but I have these 10 excuses. And I feel like I don't have the time or energy to sit and listen to all that, because you've been in this company for 2 years. If you wanted to make some money, you know how to do it. Like, we're telling you how to do it. Go sell some product. But this time around, I said, okay, how much time, I know you're so busy, everything, all the stuff you said, how much time do you have each day? She said, probably about 20 or 30 minutes. I said, okay, I want you to do these 5 things every day for 30 minutes. And I'm going to follow up with you on the 20th, and we'll talk about how it went and what was hard about it or what went well about it. And we'll brainstorm, and we'll adjust if we need to adjust, rather than me getting into a back and forth thread with her, like trying to convince her about, excuses and all that. I kind of did what Tamra said, which is provide them with a challenge of some sort, and then see if they rise to it. And if they rise to it, give a little more, pour in a little more. But also create a boundary around the amount of time and effort that you can put into that person. But here's one thing I think, Taylor, with the people that you see some potential in and you want to raise them up as leaders, I think what they need is when we ask them to do that, they need us to give a little bit of detail. So for instance, I keep using Olivia, but let's say you look at Olivia and you're like, I want, like the question of like, hey, I want you to post something to the team page this week. It can be anything. It can be this, that, or that. I think that feels too broad. So something different would be, Olivia, you're extremely gifted with fitness. And I can tell that you're really good at attraction marketing. That's something that comes naturally to you. I can tell it just by looking at your profile page. How can you teach our team something about that this week? Could you maybe on Thursday share that gift with our team this week? And how could you do that? Just give them enough direction to where they're like, yeah, I know a thing or two about that. And then kind of give them the leadership to figure out how do they want to do a post? Do they want to make a video? Do they want to, I don't know, lead the next team call and talk about it? But anyway, maybe a little more direction. Okay, we're down to 6 minutes. So let's see. I don't know. I mean, he points out how as kids we're taught like king of the hill and follow the leader, and the leadership perspective is like I have to push other people down in order to be at the top of them. And then he did the illustration about how if I'm trying to push someone down, the farther down they go, the more I have to bend down to push them lower. Mm-hmm. And just an interesting paradigm shift. One that I feel like in our team, I don't see a ton of leaders fearing that people are gonna. I see people wanting to really empower other people. It's not so much a fear thing. Maybe more of a lack of trust, I think, is where we struggle. And he points out the main barriers to empowering people. So I guess for the number one barrier, a lot of people are afraid that they won't have job security if they empower others. I don't see that as a big barrier for us. Do you guys? Mm-mm. I think we can all easily recognize, and our comp plan is designed to really bring this out of us, that the more you help other people succeed, the more you succeed. So I love that we don't really deal with barrier number one. But I am hugely held back by barrier number two. I highlighted, change is the price of progress. Yeah. As a leader, you must train yourself to embrace change, desire it, and make a way for it. Mm-hmm. Some changes I embrace, but, not many. Chris is over here laughing at me. And I think I'm going to make that an affirmation of mine. I embrace change, I desire it, and I make a way for it. Because it's a strong obstacle for me. And I really admire Sarah Marble for many reasons. So I got to know her well at my Jewels training, and she told me that every time she sees a new Jewel promote, she oftentimes will private message them and ask them for a few ideas. And it shocked me because he says it in here that a good leader is always looking for ways to continually improve their organization. Yeah. And you would think that Sarah Marble, who's diamond, almost ruby, has figured out the magic formula and doesn't need to change anything. But we live in a changing time. And it's true. The people who went diamond and Celeste's day, it was a different ballgame for them than it is for us now. So people who are trying to grow a team and a business now have a lot of different factors at play. Mm-hmm. And it just really encouraged me to hear Sarah Marble say that she's constantly reaching out to people to get new ideas for things.
Well, I like just the same section, but just the last line of it that says effective leaders are not only willing to change, they became change agents. Mm-hmm. Which to me is kind of what you're talking about with Sarah Marble. Like she almost seeks it out in a sense and just totally embraces it and is looking, mm-hmm. It's not just that they're willing to go along with whatever change happens to come into their life or whatnot. It's that they're kind of leading.
They're the catalyst. Lori Harrison's the same way. She's been really pushing this on the Jewels page. She really likes the idea of doing, we all often will do online events, opportunity events where there's a post every hour and whatnot. Lori Harrison lately has been encouraging everybody to do live online events. Basically, you invite all your potentials, your team invites all their potentials, and then the leader, all that you have in the group is the leader doing a live video, Facebook Live, for 30 minutes or an hour. And it's basically an opportunity meeting on Facebook via Facebook Live. And she was just talking about that. Anyway, just like all the things that are new, just new, changing with the times for how to keep growing. Okay, and then of course barrier number 3 is huge. Can't lead a cavalry charge if you think you look funny on a horse. Self-conscious people are rarely good leaders. I think it's really eye-opening how he says they focus on themselves, worrying about how they look and what others think and whether they are liked. And when you realize just how self-centered it is to be so focused on yourself that you can't lead other people because you're concerned about how how equipped you are. So let's talk about that one real quick for the last just minute and a half. Anyone have anything to say about that one?
I think that's part of the beauty of becoming a leader is you kind of come into yourself. Like I would probably say a year ago when I started Plexus that I was a whole lot more self-conscious about what people thought of me and what I thought about myself. And now a year later, I look at myself and with my positive affirmations and personal growth and reading books and I'm teaching myself that I am important and that I don't have anything to worry about and I am a good leader. So I think that is very much the beauty of kind of becoming a leader.
Yeah. The confidence comes.
Our books have the apply section, and the number one thing they're talking about is how do you view your self-worth, and he asks a series of questions, and I put brackets around that because I was gonna kind of adapt that into some affirmations for me, because I believe that I would say I'm a confident person, but I still get self-conscious, like if I make a video or something. So I put brackets around this section because I'm going to say it to myself as an affirmation when I make videos. I am confident. I believe I have value. I have positive things to offer people in my organization, and I'm willing to take risks.
That's good.
Those were things that really stuck out to me.
That's good. I think we'll probably get cut off in a second. So